So I was going to do a video today, but I thought I'd just do a little quickie note today, even though I look like total crap. Oh my god. Anyway, that's part of why I'm doing this little quickie video. I was sitting here thinking about how my husband, my ex-husband, had lost interest in me, and how, well, actually, what it started out was I was looking around at my mom's place and how nice it is, and how eventually, I mean, I want my mom to be here forever, but, we have to be realistic. We all, have to move on eventually. And so eventually she'll be gone. And, if I outlast her, this place will all be mine. And plus the place we have over there in Stevens County. And I started thinking, my husband is such a fool. It's like the Adele song, it's like we could have had it all. When I heard that song, I just like broke down crying. It just like hit home so hard because we could have had it all. We were together for 30 years. I thought we were soulmates, whatever, And this Adam ruins everything. I watched his episode the other day about marriage and how, oh, that's just an infatuation of chemicals or whatever for the first 3 years or whatever, and marriages that last longer than that are more business arrangements or this, that, the other. Well, that's not true. I mean, my husband, for the first 15 years we were together, he couldn't keep his hands off of me. He couldn't walk past me without grabbing my butt, touching me, wanting to do something, go off and get a quickie, whatever, constantly, and bringing me little, $2 roses he'd see at the store or this, that, or the other. But it's like I started thinking back to when that stopped, and it's like it's common for relationships that last that long that one person will, well, they both change. People change. That's just the way it is, and but it's kind of common that one will want to mature more or do things, and the other one will want to stay the way it was, you know. And in this case, when I got my gas station in Seattle in 1996, I had a gas station that I leased for a couple years, and that's when things started changing. I really wanted to grow up and start making money and plan for my future, for my retirement, so I could have something. I mean, when I was young, I was wild and crazy, and I never really thought I would live that long. But once I cut the gas station, I realized, hey, I might be here for a while, and I don't want to be living in the streets when I'm 60. So I started, concentrating on, I wanted to get a piece of property. That's when I bought the property in Stevens County, the first piece of land that we had. We lost that one, but we had a plan that we were going to move out of Seattle, get our kid away from the gangs because the gangs were so bad in White Center where we were. It was Rat City, and every day when I'd go out to in the gas station before I'd open the gas station, I'd have to go in the backyard and pick up all the hypodermic needles and rubbers and shit that scumbags would be throwing over the fence into my backyard before I could even let my kid or my dog out to play. And I wanted to get him away from that, and so we moved to Stevens County. It's more of a country atmosphere because that's where we always wanted to do. We liked hiking and I had a horse, and I was always into horses and whatnot, and I wanted, that was my dream my whole life, was to have a ranch somewhere and maybe be a camp cook and take people out on horseback rides, and or hunters out, and I'd be the cook and the guide and all that. That was our dream, and the plan was to move over there and him get a good job, and I would take care of the kid and the property and everything else. And it just, nothing worked out that way. When we got out there, he became such a depressive jerk and so controlling and abusive, started drinking more, just, it was horrible. And I told him, I'm like, why don't you go to Alaska? Why don't you, get a job doing this or that on pipelines or this, that, or that? Oh, no, I don't want to be away from home. I don't want to be away from my family. That was always his excuse. He didn't want to be away from his family at all. And I'm like, well, we'll still be here when you get back. But you can go somewhere and make, good money and come back. Maybe you retire early. And then, after a few years of fighting about that, I gave up on that, and that's when I started growing, pot, We had 20 acres. We could have done what Monica at Herbal Essence in Colville did and just started growing illegally. That's what I wanted to do. I kept pushing Bill to get more lights, so let's grow more. If we would have done that, we would have been the first ones to have the shop in Colville, not Monica. We would have been. But Bill wouldn't. He didn't want to cooperate. He wouldn't let me buy any equipment. He went, "Oh, we can't afford that. We can't afford that." And I kept telling him, "You got to put money in to make money. It takes money to make money, whatever." And he just wouldn't listen to me. He wouldn't let me do anything. And we just got poorer and poorer. He took the worst jobs possibly. He went to truck driving school. He went to welding school. I stuck through him with him through both of that. When he went to welding school, he literally abandoned my son and I on the 20 acres in this stupid shack he'd built out of tree branches and Walmart bags. We had no running water. I didn't have a car. I didn't even have a phone for half the time. And for 4.5 years, he lived in Spokane, 125 miles away. And he had a job and lived in this two-story house with his buddy Joe, pretty decent house over in Hilliard. And Bill had the whole freaking basement, had his own bathroom, shower, toilet, the whole bit, but yet he left us abandoned on the property. I didn't have a toilet, I'm a lady and I got to go outside and use a bucket when there's 4 feet of snow on the ground and it's 10 degrees below zero. I mean, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. And then he would just show up every 2 weeks and give us some food and then leave again, or take us into town to the Chevron station in Kettle Falls so we could get a shower. I mean, it was freaking horrible. Baby wipes and bottled water were my best friend. It was terrible. I lived like that for 4.5 years while he lived in a fairly decent house, and his excuse was he couldn't afford to bring us along or some stupid thing. I don't know. But the job he had was a shit job. He worked at Reliance Trailer in Spokane and didn't even make that much for a welder. I mean, he'd bring home maybe $1,200 every 2 weeks. I mean, it's ridiculous. And even now, he's a truck driver. He works for DCT Chambers, and he would leave home. I mean, he's in that truck for at least 10 to 11 hours every day. Plus, it was an hour drive to work, an hour drive home. So he's gone 14 hours a day. But even so, he's driving that truck. And I figured out his check, one of the last checks before I divorced him, or before I left him back in May. Um, he had been, I've calculated his hours, it was 107 hours for $980. That's how much he was in the truck. He literally made less than $10 an hour driving that goddamn truck. And he's bringing home checks for 11 to 1200 every 2 weeks. And he says he makes good money. That's good money. And I'm just a money grubbing whore sitting there with my hand out and sitting on my fat ass and everything else. And, you know, it's bullshit. But back to where our relationship started falling apart. It was after the gas station. We moved out there. We had a plan. If we'd stuck to the plan, we would have had, if he'd gone to Alaska, he could have made so much money. He would have been able to retire by now. If he had done what I wanted to do with the weed, we would have had the first marijuana businesses when they became legal. I mean, if he would have just done any of the things, any of the plans, if we had had any good plans, not to mention the fact that I'll inherit everything because I have no other sibling. Well, my brother, but he can't ever come back to the state of Washington. So it's like, I'm going to get everything. And he's just so dumb. But the thing is that he didn't love me anymore. He lies and says that he still loves me. He lies and says, that he's still interested, but it's a lie. A woman knows these things. When a man don't look at her anymore, when a man don't touch her anymore like he used to, you kind of know he ain't that interested anymore. So it's like we were together for 30 years, but yet he could no longer see who I was. He couldn't see the fact that one of the reasons I got sick and gained so much weight was because I was so depressed because he didn't stick to this plan that we had as a couple. And that he didn't see that. He couldn't see that. And that if he really knew the real me or saw who I used to be, he would know I can get that back anytime. If we could have somehow worked on us, we could have got that back. I'm working on losing weight. I'm working on getting back the person I used to be. and he just didn't love me enough to see that. And I tried. I mean, I for 5 years I threatened, hey, let's get some counseling or I'm going to divorce you. Just let's get some counseling. Go get your T count checked. Go, anything. I went to counseling. I quit drinking. I have a cocktail once every couple months, maybe, if that. But I don't go to bars anymore. I don't do any of the things that supposedly he didn't like. I worked on all the stuff. The only thing that I didn't really work on is my cussing. I flat out told everybody I have a foul fucking mouth. Deal with it. It's my thing, and I don't give a shit if you like it or not. That's the one thing I'm not gonna bother working on. But I've even actually kind of toned that down, even because I'm not nearly as bad as I used to be. I mean, it used to be fuck was every other word. I don't really talk like that anymore. So I actually have worked on that, I guess, without even knowing it. So I think really about the time my relationship started busting down was the time that I grew up and decided I wanted a future. I wanted a home of my own. I wanted, something to call my own to die on or live on or whatever, where I was safe and he just didn't get that. He just wanted to still be like we were when we were young, when we just went off every weekend and went and partied or hiking or doing stuff. In fact, he told our son, "Oh, I don't have fun anymore. I just want to have fun." It's like you're 53 years old, mister, and all you want to do is have fun. He started smoking meth again. He's all kinds of stupid shit. And I just had to, I couldn't take it anymore. Plus the screaming and the yelling and all the crap. But it's really sad because, like the Adele song says, we could have had it all. We really could have had it all. But, oh well, I was just thinking about that today. It made me kind of a little bit sad, but I am going to continue having hope and working on my dreams and see what happens, I guess. But, okay, well, anyway, have a good day.